really enjoyed your film.
Thank you.
Immensely. In many ways, I find it quite beautiful. When you look at your film, what pleases you the most?
What pleases me is I made a film that families can see. My first film was She's Gotta Have It, rated R, very sexually explicit. And since that film, up to right before Malcolm X, parents have said, come to me, black and white, I love your films, but I cannot take my children to see them. So Malcolm X was the first film where parents could take their children to see. That was PG-13, and Crooklyn is along the same lines. A lot of people wanted to define me by race. Filmmaker makes films about race. Do the Right Thing, Jungle Fever, Malcolm X. But that is not the only type of films I want to make. So this is just another film in a large body of work I want to leave behind. This is number 7.
I grew up in Portland, Oregon, which was a long way from Brooklyn. But yet I think I'd say about 90% of the same experiences. You know, I could trade your characters for my characters on my street.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's what I've been fighting about from the beginning. The Afro-American experience is just as universal as anything else. And if you're successful in telling a story, black, white, yellow will come to see it. If you are successful in telling a story, people should be able to see the same things in the African-American experience in their experience. I mean, that's why is it that the whole world could love the films of Kurosawa, of Fellini, of Bergman? I mean, this stuff is universal. So it should be the same for the African-American experience in film. I mean, of course, that's happened already in music, but it still needs to happen again in film.
Where does a lot of that thought come to you? Does it come from the African-American community, or
I mean, it's just something I've come
from everywhere?
From the studios, you know, you hear this all the time, that, you know, the white masses don't want to see this, you know. Why are there no black dramas? I mean, look at the films that are made. You got comedies or the gangsters shoot 'em up hood films. But as far as, you know, a black love story or a black drama, you know, you just don't have that on television, nor do you have it in Hollywood.
You know, your film really embraces children, and it's really told through the eyes of a young girl.
Right.
In that sense, when you're filling out all of the stories and all the things that happen in Crooklyn, I assume that you're thinking back on your own childhood and
somewhat,
and your family.
Somewhat, but it's not an autobiographical film. But I really have to give credit to my sister, because she's the one that came up with the idea and wrote the initial screenplay, and it was my sister Joie who insisted that the story be told through the eyes of a 10-year-old girl. And that's something that I had to be true to. Despite the fact there's a whole lot of stuff happening in the film, there's a whole lot of characters, very interesting characters, other people in the family, got great actors like Alfred and Delroy Lindo, but we still had to keep the focus on Troy.
You know, there's a shot in the film that I just find hysterical, and that's the shot when they first go to the neighbor who's playing his little synthesizer. That I just think that's the funniest fisheye like lens shot. I find that really funny, just the way you shot all that stuff. I want to ask you an odd question about directing. If you take away any sense of income about what you do, and publicity or notoriety about it, and it gets down to the moment of doing it, what do you really love about directing?
I just love cinema. I love film, and I'm very fortunate that I'm able to make a good living doing what I love the most, because most people go to their grave having worked their job they hated. So I'm grateful.
Is it as fulfilling now as when you started with She's Gotta Have It?
Yes, She's Gotta Have It, I really know what I was doing. But now, this is my 7th film. I'm getting in more command of the craft of filmmaking.
In other words, you're more in command of what the camera sees?
The whole aspect.
Yeah.
Before She's Gotta Have It, I was just trying to get it done.
Well, you did. Thanks, Mike. Nice film.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.